what are the basic assumptions. And so your task is, first, what you have done, fixed cost per unit and fixed cost of goods sold. When units sold are 6,000 and when units produced are 8,400. So the question is how much fixed costs are considered in the income statement and how much fixed costs are capitalized in inventories. If you show that in your calculation, that is the task for the next 15 minutes, please. Because this is what makes differences in your income statements. If you do not have your laptop with you, use the same format and you can do that on. But the definition of relevant cost is?
Costs that are considered for decision making.
That is the consequence. But when? What makes cost required for decision making?
I think that relevant revenue and relevant cost are the revenue and cost that differ among alternative action, so that it means that it is relevant.
Exactly. Relevant costs are those which are different in different alternatives. So if you think about if you make a journey, whether to take the car or the train, you think about, okay, here I have to pay petrol, there I have to pay the ticket, and then I need to consider maybe car maintenance and whatever. So it's about what costs are relevant for this kind of decision making. And you are coming from the consequence. The consequence is relevant costs are considered in decision making. The reason for that is that they differ between alternatives. Learning objectives, go over it when you prepare for the exam. And here, general process of decision making is first, of course, we gather information, data is relevant, you should make decisions based on data, and then you define your making predictions for these relevant data, and then you define alternatives. For example, again, simple alternative is if you want to make a journey, you could use maybe your own car if you have one, you could use the train, you could use the bus, you could use an hitchhiking organization, whenever. So, and this is about identifying alternatives. And then you, of course, need to evaluate your alternatives based on relevant cost and relevant revenues, and maybe, of course, some other intangible factors. For example, when you take the decision going by train or taking the car, you might consider that you could work in the train, that you can relax in the train, but you could not do by car. And finally, if you do implement your decision, you need to evaluate. That is, again, the whole management process in decision making. We have already determined relevant cost and relevant revenues. And what Ekram told us, sunk costs are not relevant costs. But what are sunk costs, by the way? We are starting very much with the basics. Some definition.
Fixed
Please.
You
cost.
can see on the airport of Berlin when we built them. The plan was like 1 billion, and then it was like 7 billion.
And what is sunk cost?
Fixed cost.
We didn't plan
Sunk cost.
for the construction.
Not necessarily. What is the what you mean is cost which are somebody wasted or so. I have the impression, but sunk costs have a specific meaning.
I guess maybe depreciation of machinery, equipment.
Ah, yes, it's an example, but what's the
Some
definition?
cost has happened in the past and we cannot change it in future.
Exactly. It's whether it's good cost or bad cost, it's not relevant because you cannot change them anymore. And there is in psychology, there is this phenomenon which is called sunk cost fallacy. Because you tend to consider sunk cost in your decision making. For example, when you consider to sell your car, you might say, oh, I have spent 1,000 euro in maintenance last month. I don't sell this car right now because it does not make sense. In real terms, the money what you have spent for your car last month in maintenance is not a relevant cost for the decision selling or keeping the car. For the decision of selling or keeping the car might be relevant what are future costs related. And then it comes to the, of course, the maintenance you have spent last month indicates that you might not have so many maintenance costs in the near future. But in real terms, the maintenance what you spend is not relevant. What is relevant is the maintenance what you expect in the future. And again, very often you management decisions, if you spend a lot of money following for one alternative, for an investment, it is very difficult to decide we stop that investment. For psychological reasons, often the money spent is relevant in real terms. When you come to rational decision making, and controlling is about rational decision making, you should not consider the money you spend. You should consider future cost and future revenues. And this means also historical costs are not relevant. Historical costs might be used to predict future costs, but by themselves, no relevance. So relevant costs are also called differential costs. Costs which differ between different alternatives, and the same applies with relevant revenues. Revenues considered when they are different between different alternatives. we come to some examples. Here we have a short remark about non-financial factors, intangible factors, which of course play a role in real-life decision-making, but in our management accounting course, we focus on financials. You please keep in mind that in real life, non-financials, of course, need to be considered. I come to an example. It's an example to identify revenue cost when you have a one-time special order. Short term. You have maybe an ongoing production and you get an offer to sell a certain amount of products. And the question in this case is, of course, what is the minimum price in order to accept that offer? And here you have a company manufacturing bath towels. The plant has a capacity of 44,000 towels per month, and current production is only 30,000. So they have unused capacity. Now, example,